What are you watching?
Welcome back to Argus Hamilton's Comedy Store tonight, and it's a pleasure to bring this next guy on. We worked together on the Liars Club.
Yeah, and you're a brilliant liar, Al. I will say that.
Ask
30
around.
years of drinking will do that to you.
Yeah. Oh, sobriety just hones it, man.
Yeah.
And listen, he's with Punch Drunk Sports, which is a huge podcast and very, very successful. He does with Sam Tripoli. You've seen him on
And Ari Shaffir.
And Ari Shaffir, the Joe Rogan Experience. Give it up for Jayson Thibault. Now, you run with a wild, brilliant group of guys with Sam Tripoli and Ari Shaffir. How did you guys come up with Punch Drunk Sports?
I'll tell you how we came up with it, because we were right when podcasting started, and that was like when Death Squad started, before Rogan, right when Rogan's podcast started, we all realized podcasting was going to be huge. And we all had individual podcasts, and Rogan's was big, and ours were little, but we were kind of under his tree.
Right.
And we were like, so we all had like 3 individual podcasts that were getting like 4,000 downloads, and Rogan's was getting 50,000. We were like, what if the 3 of us combine like a Super Friends, and we all bring our 4,000, and then, so we all had this thing, and then we had our individual things. And where it came from was because in this parking lot of the Comedy Store, you know, Ari, Renazizi, you know, Red Band, Brett Ernst, all of the people that, you know, were coming up at that time would be arguing in the parking lot about sports.
Right.
And making crazy bets like, you know what I mean? All right, I'll wear your shoes for a week if the Cowboys loses.
That's where these crazy bets come from?
And from doing it out there. And on Ari, Sam, and I were like, this is a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, if we do this people would listen to this. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll tell you some of the bets that have been paid off, and I'll
listen to these bets. Yeah.
I'll keep it
detail
PC.
them.
I'll keep it PC.
No, you don't have to.
Okay, well then I'll tell you the worst one. The worst one, if we can't be PC, and this is the Comedy Store, if this isn't the Comedy Store.
You can be free speech in this room.
I was in Chicago, and I want to get to Bronger because, you know, you don't know this, but Bronger and I are both from Chicago.
Yeah.
We were open micers together 20 years ago.
Wow.
In Chicago. When he was talking about I was in the green room in there watching the show live, and when you were like, what clubs were you at? I was naming them as he was naming them. Because there weren't that many back then. It's a huge scene now.
Yeah.
But like Kyle Kinane, Matt Bronger, there's so many funny people that came out of that scene.
Yeah.
But the worst bet is Josh Martin, who's a door guy at the Comedy Store, and paid regularly. He's funny. He's a great guy. But he hates the fantasy football league of the Comedy Store because he's not in it.
Right.
But he would show up at the draft, which we have in the main room every year. It's about to come up in 3 weeks, and heckle.
And heckle the draft?
And if anybody doesn't know Josh Martin, this is a dead ringer impression. He'd be like, Sam Tripoli is basically an idiot. So, that is a good impression. He's basically a nobody. But he goes, because he wanted to be in the Comedy Store League so bad, which has been going on for 12 years.
Yeah, it sounds like the kid that wanted to join the game.
There's only 10 people in, 100%.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll do anything. It's called the bag of bets.
Yeah,
so if we're arguing, you're on the show, and you start arguing with me about Oklahoma football or whatever, and I think you're wrong, I'm like, if you're that confident, let's get the bag out.
Yeah.
Tensions get hot when the bag is on the table.
Because comics care about their sports.
And there's horrible things in that bag.
Oh, no.
Before we get to the worst one, I'll tell you what leads up to that. Ari Shaffir had to wear a diaper for 24 hours and could only change it once and never use a toilet. Tripoli had to have a Hitler mustache for 24 hours and Instagram himself in public with a Hitler mustache 5 times.
Dead ringer.
You know, it's a very unfriendly bag. The worst one, and I'll be very honest.
Worse than Hitler?
Oh, bro. Buckle your seatbelt, Argus. He wanted in that fantasy league. And he said, I'll do whatever is the worst thing in that bag of bets. So he goes, what's the worst thing? And we go, here's what the worst thing was. And we told him, and he goes, fine, I'm in 100%. And what he said was, if Sam doesn't win the league, if he finishes last, that's what he was betting, that Sam would finish last, He won the league that year. He didn't finish last. So what we did, Ari, Sam, and I, just, it's a Comedy Store.
Sure.
We took every other bet out of the bag and only put that in the bag.
Right.
The worst one. So of course he gets it because he already agreed to it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your sponsors.
Go ahead.
I was in Chicago at the time working. Ari was in New York and Sam was in LA. What the bet was all three hosts masturbate on the same rag.
Yeah.
The loser in a live show has to dunk it into hot water to reactivate the cum and swab his face with it. And that is on YouTube, and you can watch Josh Martin do it in the belly room right before the roast battle started. 100% on YouTube. So guys, go to Punch Drunk Sports and see what you get. Welcome to the Comedy Store.
Oh,
right,
that's
baby?
wonderful.
What were some of the terrible pranks
that-
you guys did back in the day? Because when I got here in '98, there was like right when the end, like the '90s was kind of ending, and so I got like at the end when it was great, and Freddie Soto, the great Freddie Soto, and those were all the big, and Rogan, and a lot of those guys were the big dogs here, and that's when I was doing open mics and stuff, and then I kind of went through the early 2000s where this was kind of like a ghost ship. Mm-hmm. I don't blame anybody, Tommy. I don't want to mention names. Tommy. But so I kind of went through all that. But like you were from day one. So what were some of the crazy pranks that you guys did?
Well, Greg Hilbers is here from my pledge class as well. And what we mostly did was we would go out drinking and drugging and
Wipe your face with cum?
chasing women. No, but you did explain why Josh has that complexion of a 12-year-old girl.
My skin has never been so supple. My skin has never looked so supple. I have the skin of a baby's butt. And congratulations to you, Josh.
Well, I did go to my very first party. I got here in March of '76, and in a group called I
don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just like, because this club is 72,
yeah.
and it's 72.
Yeah, I got here
It's the
March.
same age as me.
Yeah.
And I always romanticize that,
Yeah,
that this
exactly.
club was born when I was.
Yeah.
And I've always romanticized that.
Well, this club had the advantage of opening up the very month that Johnny Carson moved The Tonight Show to Los Angeles.
Is that awesome?
And so what that allowed the Comedy Store to do was to reap the harvest of all these comedians
that was here.
that had been developing in New York. The Robert Klein tree, okay? Jimmy J.J. Walker, Jay Leno,
Yep.
all these guys that were developing at the
those
Improv
Carolines
in New
and
York.
Improv people.
Caroline's wasn't there. This was Improv and Catch a Rising Star, maybe back then.
Catch.
And they had to come out to L.A. And David Brenner was another big one. Gabe Kaplan.
Kaplan, yeah.
And
Mr. Kata, if you don't know.
They flooded into the Comedy Store because they had to be in town for the Tonight Show and the Tonight Show coordinator. Okay.
And also to audition for sitcoms at
Exactly.
that era.
This was where it all was out here.
Yeah.
And so the Comedy Store was a tremendous beneficiary of that, and that allowed a group of LA comics to start developing out here. There weren't that many.
Right.
But mostly it was baby boomers like me, graduating from college. You're turned off by politics because of Watergate. So we have to be in front of everybody.
And post-Vietnam.
Post-Vietnam.
Too young for Vietnam, but old enough to understand Watergate.
That's what the big party. What they're talking about this movie right now, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and we can't compete with the late '60s in this town. Okay, the late '60s in LA, the counterculture was so crazy on LSD that the cocaine that came into this town in the '70s actually calmed everybody down. Okay. All right. So they're really.
I got to balance my checkbook.
There weren't any comics from the late '60s left alive for the Comedy Store in '72.
Sure.
There was only one comic that survived, and that was Steve Martin. Okay, and he was a banjo player. I mean, he wasn't a player.
And he also quit doing drugs.
Yeah. But Steve survived. But as for that, the pranks. My first party with the comics was at an Easter Day party in '76.
Easter.
Easter Day, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, very.
Comics love Easter. Everybody knows that.
Well, all the waitresses and the comedians and the comics all got together. I was just getting to know everyone, and I kind of made.
How old were you, sir?
23.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I made.
This is 4 years ago.
I made eye contact with the late Jenny of the Jenny and Terry Frankel, the Frankel sisters, and I thought I just had a crush on her, and everybody at the party knew it, and everybody got drinking and smoking. They were doing a little coke. Everybody got a little wild, and I'm new to town, but I'm the social chairman of Alpha Tau Omega fraternity. I can party, okay?
I believe you.
Yeah. And so they come whisper to me and say, Jenny likes you too, and she's waiting for you in the bed in the second bedroom. I went,
That happened to me in 8th grade, and it didn't work out well.
Well, I tiptoed in.
Jenny had a very big clitoris with balls underneath.
Well,
More of a Jenny situation.
it's like your Josh story. It's worse.
I hope this doesn't end like my Josh story. Your skin does look nice.
So there's the bed, and there's just underneath the blankets, underneath the covers, and I slip in, take my clothes off, and I nuzzle up.
That's your
and
move.
Suddenly, the covers go off, and it's 300-pound Vic Dunlop with his mustache going, yes!
Get out of here.
And then everybody's standing at the door laughing their asses off at me. And all I could say was, I've been had. And they all went wild for that. And that was kind of like breaking my cherry with the other comic.
How long did you guys date after that?
Oh God, we all love Vic. Oh, he was wonderful. I'm sure you saw him in Chicago perform.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Vic Dunlop, tremendous comic. Oh man.
Great character actor as well.
And of course he passed on. Had a terrible luck with diabetes and all that, but we loved him, man. Oh God. But anyway, we had our fun, and every generation should have their fun. You know, whenever I tip the doorman, or if I tip the comics out there in the parking lot, you know, I say, this is for alcohol and drugs, not for food. I say,
Trust me, they're not spending it on food.
Say, remember, you're partying for two. Now, tell me about strippers fighting terrorism.
Well, yeah.
There's a segue.
That's a little video I did. Sam Tripoli and I worked on The Naughty Show forever, and we did so many sketches. We did a game show called Up Your Butt, which is you could keep as much money as they would stuff in your ass. And there were
$1 bills?
well, there was different monetary ways you could do that. But,
I'm considering it. You know.
You had a few lifelines. The Minuteman, that could cram more money into your ass. Phone a friend, of course. You can always phone a friend. But so we did so many different sketches, and that one was like when, you know, I mean, it's probably too soon, but post 9/11, terrorism was a thing. I don't know if you recall, terrorism was a thing. And so we were kind of like, what's the way we can kind of like calm this down?
Yeah.
Sammy and I, and we were like, let's just do this video about, you know, terrorism. And so Sam and I sort of played these terrorists that had more sexual interest than political, I'll say.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did a lot, we did all of that. And you know what was so interesting about Bronner, which I didn't realize, we have this also tied, not only from Chicago,
Yeah.
and starting out together there,
Yeah.
that he was on Letterman on his last run, almost how like you were talking about how Carson came here,
Yeah.
Comedy Store started, that, you know, I went to Ball State University,
Yeah.
where Letterman's from,
went, yeah.
and had his scholarship. And his scholarship, you have to have a 2.0 grade point average.
Oh no.
It only, which is what he graduated with.
So you had it for a semester.
Only a semester.
Yeah.
It paid for one semester. That's it.
Yeah.
And the only people that could apply have to have a 2.0 grade point average, which is what he graduated with.
Right.
And he built this like $1 billion telecommunications building at Ball State University, and there's a gold plaque that says, "To all 2.0 students before and after me, David Letterman."
Wow.
And he that's the bottom line you can graduate with.
Yeah.
And look what he became. So I had a 2.4 grade point average.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to submit for that scholarship. So I intentionally am fluent in German, tanked German.
That's a great.
like-
That's a great verb for German.
Tanken Sie.
Your pens are tainted.
Well, yeah, they invented tanks.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I can get a C in German, I will get a 2.0. But the only reason I took German was because I knew it'd bring me up to a B. So I'm like, if I just go to the classes, I'll get an A. But if I just never go to the lab, I can sleep in. Also watch Matlock, which was a big part of my life back then. Big part of my life in that day. And then I'll get an A and an F.
Yeah.
And that'll give me a C in this class that I was guaranteed an A in.
Yeah.
But that'll bring me to a 2.0. Because Letterman's thing, which was so great, was it wasn't based on your grades or anything. It was a project you would submit.
Yeah.
So we shot this video about how to use the library
Right.
when the internet was getting big.
Yeah.
So ditch the Dewey Decimal System,
Yeah.
use the internet.
Right.
That's how the library was doing this.
Yeah.
So we shot this thing where it's kind of like Greatest American Hero, where I was like the worst superhero, but all my special powers about how to use a library. Fractured my tailbone because I was doing shots where I would like jump off of a ladder into an elevator because I was terrible at my landings from flying. And actually got the actual scholarship, but I had to literally lower my grade point average to save my lesbian mom's money.
Your lesbian mom's money? That's right. You were raised by lesbians.
I was raised by lesbians, yeah.
Yeah.
I was raised in the 80s by lesbians.
Yeah.
So like my sister and I are like, we fancy ourselves as like the Rosa Parks of gay parents.
That's right.
Because like two chicks making out is the hottest thing in the world till it's your mom's.
Give it up for Jayson Thibault, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful. Fantastic, baby. Wow, you were great. You killed it,
I
baby.
love you, buddy. I love you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Glad to have you here.